Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news you still love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And welcome to officially the off-season and to another one of our favorite concepts that we do during the off-season. And, you know, it only becomes ripe every couple of years, or, you know, once every year, basically, where we're taking a look back at a recruiting class that has all graduated, at least in one way or another. Maybe one is sticking around somewhere, COVID year, injury waiver, who knows? But
well, this class would be the first post-COVID year class.
Oh yeah,
at least I think so. Maybe the JUCO guys, I guess, would probably have a COVID year, but at least the high school signees, this would be the first class. But they might be the first to get a 5-year eligibility, although I don't know if that's happening this year.
Who knows? But the 2021 recruiting class for K-State, I remember it being one that I was actually pretty excited about when it was all said and done. And that's kind of the point of these retrospectives, is just taking a look at all of it, basically. There's no other better way to put it than looking at the class as a whole. And you can definitely tell that this was the COVID evaluation class, as Connor has so artfully put it in conversations with me before, because most of these guys are kind of bad.
Yeah, this was not a great class. There were admittedly a few guys on this list that ultimately didn't pan out, but at least did show some flashes early, but ended up just either not panning out or going elsewhere, some combination of both. And of course, there were a few like great gem pickups as well, but this also was notably kind of the first like really strong transfer portal class for K-State, because I think this was the year that the portal really kind of like actually became a thing, because up until this point, I think the big rule change in the Kleiman era had been, other than the COVID year of eligibility, which that was blanket for everybody, would have been the 4-game exemption for true fresh, or for anybody to play 4 games and still redshirt. But this was the first like kind of K-State portal class, and they actually put together, like, honestly, nearly top to bottom, a fantastic class. There's definitely a notable exception to the quality of this portal class, but by and large, this was still a strong class in the portal, at least.
Yeah, and to me, it is the portal class really was the strongest part about all of it. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and dive straight into it with the one that everyone kind of remembers from this class, at least if you're looking at the evaluatory misses. And that is we're going to start from the highest rated on 3 recruit and then just work our way down from there. And that is Jake Rubley, who I believe threw a grand total of 2 passes in a K-State uniform. It's either 2, 3, or 4. One of them should have been picked against TCU. And everyone, mostly just ESPN, had him rated very, very highly. And he just never panned out at K-State, and he never panned out when he transferred down to Illinois State either. I'm pretty sure he wasn't even the starter there for most of this season. So a massive evaluation miss by the national guys, but the alleged reason for that was that Jake Rubley was a 7-on-7 god, but the moment that any pressure started coming his way and he had to play in an actual football game, it just fell apart. So, I mean, talent there, but sometimes just you don't get that pocket feel. and that's really damning for a lot of quarterbacks. But yeah, Rubley, as I mean, he was listed as he was really ranked pretty highly as a pro style quarterback back when those distinctions mattered. And yeah, it just it didn't pan out, and that's really the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, I mean, when he committed, it was like a massive event because I mean he was like the highest rated player in the Kleiman era, one of the higher rated players K State had ever gotten, and it was also uh, really the first major like big time like highly rated commitment K State had gotten uh, in years because like that latter portion, really most of, but especially the later years of Bill Snyder's second tenure, like there just wasn't a lot of push to get highly recruited guys. It was primarily going for your diamonds in the rough. In case they really got a reputation for that. But yeah, Jake Rubley was kind of one of, if not the first examples of Chris Kleiman bucking the trend. And also, he was a really early commit too. He committed January 1st of 2020, which I believe was the same day that we lost to Navy in the Liberty Bowl
Yep,
from the
it
first
was.
season. So he was a very early commit. I think he might have been the first commit for that 2020 class, or at least one of. No, actually, he was second. He was beat out by one Devontae Pritchard. But Rubley, he attempted at K State a total of 6 passes. He completed 5 of them, threw a pick, and then also ran the ball 6 times for 2 yards. He had 42 total yards and was also sacked once. And yeah, like you said, Ace, he wasn't great at Illinois State either, although that was, I don't think, a particularly great Illinois State team, at least from the games I watched. They struggled a bit, but that was still not a great statistical year for Jake Rubley, especially because he kind of ended up getting beat out by Tommy Rittenhouse. But Rubley, he went 41-78 that year, 428 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 5.5 yards per attempt. And then yeah, finished with negative rushing yards, but did have a touchdown. But so yeah, he did not live up to that 4-star billing, which is unfortunate. But he still got to play some college football. He won a Big 12 championship. He did not become the next big thing at K State, but still was part of a team that was able to make it to the Big 12 title.
Yeah, he Big 12 champion Jake Rubley. All of these guys, well, not all of them. A lot of these guys did end up being Big 12 champions, but one of them that actually stuck with K State for the entirety of his career, which spoilers, that's not a lot of these guys, is Andrew Langang, who, given the initial expectations, if you were to go back in time and tell us what Andrew Langang's career would end up being, I think we would have ended up being disappointed. That does not mean that Andrew Langang was a bad player. He was just kind of average, which, hey, average swing offensive lineman / offensive tackle play is nothing you can sneeze at. It's just, I think if you went back in time and told us that he would just be serviceable, we'd be a little disappointed, just because he was viewed as the next big offensive tackle from K-State. But I don't want to talk down to him too much because, he spent his entire career here as a K-State guy and was solid during his entire time here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this last season probably has resulted in a little bit of a recency bias for Langang. He was never an elite player or anything. But he was at K-State for 5 years, and he played every year, I think. Uh, but I do think it would be fair to say, going back to when he committed to now, thinking like, yeah, like he kind of, I think, had like all conference type projections, but he still was able to be a contributor, and he was here his whole career. And I think that uh, is like a fine player to have. You don't get many of those nowadays either. Um, I think also some of the disappointment for people like us and people that listen to this show probably also stems from the fact that he was kind of an off-season darling almost every year. He was always a guy where the insiders had a lot of really great things to say about Andrew Langgang about every offseason, and he just never quite hit those lofty expectations from the off seasons. But I don't think that that makes Andrew Langang's career a failure. I think that it means that he was a solid player for K State. He was a really strong locker room presence, and was a steady guy to have around there. And as we saw from the 2020 season at K State, having steady locker room guys, it's really important because just a couple of poorly placed individuals that can really mess up a team's chemistry. But all in all, uh, yeah, I was pretty happy with Andrew Langgang, especially at the time we recruited him, because I think it might be fair to say Andrew Langgang was probably the first legitimately strong recruiting win of the Chris Kleiman era. Uh, this was one where we went up pretty much head to head with Stanford and Northwestern, and we were able to lock him down. And that was one of the first times that had happened in quite a while. I mean, I remember late Bill Snyder like following like recruits like online, seeing if we would get somebody. And like I can't remember the guy's name, but there was an ESPN 4-star corner who was down to K State and Tulane, and he still went with Tulane. And that I think really exemplifies that like late stage Bill Snyder level of recruiting or lack thereof. But I don't know. This won't be a dump on Snyder 2.0 recruiting like all episode, because like the recruiting wasn't great, but we still found diamonds in the rough and still won football games. But it's just this just isn't a really pleasant topic for that era of K State.
Yeah, look at how far we've come, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, if we pulled in this level of class, like this year, I think people would be really concerned. I mean, Rubley graded well, and then Langgang I think is probably about right where he is in terms of his grading. But there's a lot of guys that have lower grades, and even some guys kind of dipping down to 2 stars. So I think if we brought in this type of class nowadays, especially nowadays, I think people would be like up in arms about it.
Yeah. And you can kind of talk about being up in arms with the next two guys, and well, four of the next five guys as listed. But the first one is Darrell Jones, who is a recruit that is close to Connor and I, because we're both from Pittsburgh, and he went to Coffeyville, specifically Field Kinley. Golden Hurricanes, I believe. I can picture their mascot because they are gold and purple, which is a disgusting color combination for the middle of Kansas. But he's listed as a wide receiver, never played wide receiver, was a corner, freak athlete, never put it together. That is the entire story of Darrell Jones, plus getting destroyed by Tyrone Howell on a random highlight clip that was posted on a random Wednesday.
Yeah, that's pretty much the story with Darrell Jones. Like high octane athlete, really like projectable player in terms of his traits. But yeah, it really was always going to be a development project with Darrell, and it just never got there, which is, I understand it. It's fine. That's just how it goes a lot of times with those projectable players, the guys that you're hoping to like develop into a dude. But Darrell Jones only played in one game at K State. He played in the UT Martin game in 2024. And so that was in 4 years at K State. He only was able to play in one game, and he only played a few snaps. And then he ended up transferring to Fort Hays State. He didn't honestly he didn't play much there either. He played in 8 games. He had 9 tackles and 2 passes defended this past year in 2025 as a senior. And that's the Darrell Jones story. I mean, like, this one's just not as exciting as the others. There's not a lot of backstory. I mean, the prevailing memory, I think, is going to be him getting mossed by Tyrone Howell. I think you're right.
Which is a shame. That really could have happened to anybody.
Yeah.
Next is another Kansas kid, Devontae Pritchard from Gardner. This is another one where he was the first commit. Didn't do much, if anything. I don't remember him doing anything. I'm not even sure if he played. I don't know. But this is another one where you just kind of shrug your shoulders and say, I mean, it happens.
Yeah, he was an early commit. He was somebody I think that was again like kind of projectable, like Darrell Jones was. Although he was pretty undersized for a linebacker. He was listed at 6'1", 200 pounds. That is probably a bit generous, but he was still like a solid athlete. He was one of the first K-State players to get to wear number 0 as well. So that's another decent thing to add. But he wasn't at K-State for particularly long. He really committed to K-State early. He was on campus for I think only maybe like a year and a half, if I remember correctly. And that's really about it. He never played. And I do remember, I think they had like one like open practice, I think, like early in the life of the show. Like in August. I think you and I went. I think this was one of the first things that we did. It was like kind of one of our first episodes to do well. And I have some memory of Devontae Pritchard in that game or in that practice, like during like a scrimmage rep. He like punched a ball out from, I think Skylar was scrambling and like recovered the fumble. And I think we were like, oh, this could be a guy. And I think he entered the portal pretty soon after that.
Yep.
So,
that was also, I think, this may have been a year after because that we also saw Matlick. That's where I saw Matlick as someone who somehow managed to beat Cooper Beebe on a pass blocking rep, and I was like, he might be good. He was just a horrible, horrible scheme fit who was a little better at Pitt. But next up is a story that Marvin Martin was going to be good at K-State. And then he decided to transfer, I believe, because he wanted to be closer to family. At least that was the story. Nothing really to be done about that because he did transfer to South Alabama. But he was going to be good at K-State. He was another one that a lot of people were excited about in off-season talks. And he got some snaps. He would have been a guy or a starting safety had he stayed here. But he just decided to transfer out. And especially if you want to get closer to home or be closer to family, I'm not going to begrudge him for that because I get it. Homesickness sucks. So that's another what if story for me is Marvin Martin.
yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you on Marvin Martin. He was somebody who I remember he was kind of like I think either a flip or just a head-to-head recruiting win over Boston College. So that ended up being like kind of a solid recruiting victory there. But he, yeah, didn't really become the player that we were hoping that he would. Um, he I did have a few moments, for what it's worth, where he did like kind of stand out. He in 2021, I think it was, he had a fumble recovery touchdown. I can't remember what game that was. I think it might have been TCU, maybe, but or maybe West Virginia. But
West Virginia sounds right, but I also might be thinking of the blocked kick.
no, those might have been the same thing. Then
No.
now I'm thinking about it. But yeah, well, he had a punt return touchdown in 2021, which would have been the block, which I think it was Bowman that blocked it, or that or Porter, and then Martin returned it. But yeah, he played 9 games as a true freshman, and had 5 tackles, had that touchdown. So he was someone that I think we were kind of projecting to kind of take the next step. But yeah, then he transferred to South Alabama, only played in 7 games. He had 9 tackles there, 1 pass defense. He had a tackle for loss. And then he just kind of fell off the map after that. He doesn't have any more statistics available online. But yeah, he is just one of those players that I guess he just was done with football and just kind of fades into history. There's more of those than you'd think. I mean, go look at some of the like early 2000s classes with the JUCO guys that like I've never heard of in my life. Like I always am curious about their story, and like 99% of them we have no idea. Marvin Martin, I think, is just one of those same type of guys.
There's some of those guys in this class. But the next two I think you can group together. Braden Wood and Crew Jackson, defensive tackle and safety slash linebacker. Crew Jackson, I think, got by a lot on speed. He did transfer to Arizona State. Didn't do much there. May have been a special teams guy. Braden Wood, I don't want to disparage him because he seems like a nice guy, but he might be in terms of talent, he might be up there with some of the weakest that existed in the Kleiman era, and that is solely because of a COVID eval miss. He may have gotten cut, or he was very close to getting cut at Jacksonville State, like a year after he transferred from K-State. That is ooh. Because with the other guys, you could say, oh, projection. Oh, what he could have been. Braden Wood just never put it together, and I'm not sure that he ever really had the tools to either. And seems like a nice guy. You can be a great person that's not good at football. I mean, Connor and I weren't very good at football. Well, Connor was, but then the CTE monster got him. But
it's true.
Yeah, I think you can group those two together and just say if they didn't do anything, kind of move on.
Yeah, Crew Jackson like actually did get a bit of run here, but yeah, he just was very projectable. I think his ceiling was always going to be like a more athletic Rex Van Y type, where they're just always going to be really slender, but he just couldn't put the weight on that he needed to. And then yeah, Braden Wood was just a miss, and yeah, he went to Jacksonville State. He actually ended up moving to offensive line while he was there. I don't think he's playing anymore, at least not from what I can tell. But yeah, he otherwise, like yeah, it just was a recruiting miss on the K-State end of things, and that's just kind of all it is. But Crew Jackson, I mean, he stayed in Power 5 football. He played all 5 of his seasons in Power 5 football. He was never like a starter or anything. But I mean, here at K-State, like he had a pick in that 2022 Oklahoma State game. He picked off Gunnar Gundy late. And then he played 3 years at Arizona State. So he would have been part of, I think, 2 Big 12 title teams. I think Arizona State won the Big 12 that year. because his last season was this past year at Arizona State, 2025.
Yeah. So he
So
would have been one for K-State, one for Arizona State.
yeah, so a two-time Big 12 championship winner in Crew Jackson. Yeah, like he still finished his career modest stats, 16 total tackles, just the one pick, then had one sack as well. I think also in that Oklahoma State game. But yeah, ended his career, had a 9 total tackle season this past year. So yeah, I mean, like not glamorous or anything like that, but I mean, honestly, like a that's one of the better ones that we have listed like in this episode. So
Yeah. And the next one is someone who Connor and I really, really liked throughout his time at K-State. And that's RJ Garcia, who was one thing, and it was one thing only. He was a really good route runner. The problem, he was thin as hell and slow. Those were his fatal flaws. And at some point, yeah, you can have as much technical finesse with route running as you want. If you're running like a 4.8, okay, probably not a 4.8. That might be an exaggeration, but yeah, RJ Garcia was slow, and his lasting legacy will pretty much only be the top shelf catch in the Big 12 championship from Will Howard. That said, awesome catch.
sorry, I've tried to pull up his stats, and ESPN just started playing a video for some reason, and that was really frustrating.
I understand. Sometimes that happens to me, and that's kind of why I don't pull up stats because I don't want that to happen.
I've been doing that for years, and I think that is the first time I've like ever had that problem, like with ESPN specifically. But anyways, that's what I get for not using sports reference. But yeah, like RJ Garcia, he was a player that like was just constantly like felt like teetering on the brink of a breakout the first couple of years. And then we thought that we had it in that Big 12 championship game against TCU where he had that like incredible touchdown catch. Like like that was like a like that might have been like Will Howard's best throw. And he had some like tight window throws like that season. Like there's that one at Baylor to Senate that like he really just fit in a window there. But that was a really great one too. Um, but yeah, he then followed that up with the next season, like did not live up to the expectations. 14 catches, 184 yards, and one touchdown. And I think over half of those yards came in the first game of the year.
Yep.
And I think in that first game, I think over half of the yards came on one catch as well. So, yeah, that was just not the season they were hoping for. And then he got injured and missed a season in 2024. And then last year at Bowling Green, I had a solid year, 27 catches, 283 yards, and then also 2 carries for 61 yards. So I actually did have like a decently explosive year for Bowling Green, just not a ton of touches. But yeah, that's where RJ Garcia ended up, and ultimately, like, completely fine, respectable college career. Just yeah, I think he just didn't have enough in the speed department. Like, just wasn't quite fast enough. If he was just a bit faster, I think he could have been like a solid role player for K State for a while. Either a little faster in his breaks, or just a little faster long speed. You can't lack both, and that was kind of unfortunately where he was.
Yeah. And here's the last guy that we'll be talking about for the next probably 15 to 20 minutes or so that did something in any capacity, and that's Omar Daniels. Now, Omar Daniels' K-State legacy is getting dusted by Marvin Mims up against Oklahoma in the Adrian Martinez game, as I call it. Then he transferred to Georgia Tech and became a solid enough safety for them. And I think that safety was probably the better fit for him, like strong safety, where because he didn't really have the agility to play outside corner, and he also didn't really have the long speed to play true outside corner, especially in more spread systems. But he was a fine safety at Georgia Tech, was a starter or rotational piece there while he was there. And yeah, he ended up transferring back home to Georgia, goes to another Power Four school, solid contributor there. And would he have started at K State? Probably not. Even with a position change, because safety was always one of the strongest rooms alongside corner, and he was not beating out Julius Brents or Echo Bueno. So,
yeah. I mean, I think he probably would have started this year for K State in the safety room, because he started for Georgia Tech this year, and he actually kind of put up numbers for the Georgia Tech defense this year. I think it's fair to say that he was never like a world beater or anything like that, but he was like a quality starter, and I think probably was like a fringe honorable mention all conference guy this year from what I saw. Because those first 2 years at K State, he did honestly get a decent amount of playing time, especially as a redshirt freshman. But his legacy was getting dusted. I completely agree. Most of the time when Omar Daniels was on the field, I immediately was just in complete and utter fear of what was about to happen. But in his 2 seasons at K State, he only had 4 tackles, 2 in each season. In that first season at Georgia Tech in 23, he had 4 tackles, 1 for loss, and then 1 pass defended. And then as a junior, he really kind of broke out, had a 49 tackle season with 2.5 for loss and 3 passes defended. And then had a great senior year, 61 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, half a sack. The 1 interception, a pass defense, and a 95-yard fumble recovery touchdown, scoop and score, I guess. But he ended up being a genuinely really pretty good football player this last year, and I think he got a UDFA deal as well. He really got it figured out down the stretch at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and I believe that makes him the first NFL guy that we've talked about, because Lane Gang probably is more of a camp body right now. And we won't be talking about NFL guys until we get to someone who's not on the On3 page. The next 5 guys either medically retired, wish them the best, quit, just quit football altogether, couldn't grow into their frame, or just in general did nothing. Devin Weathers, running back from Webb City, quit. Gavin Hasselhorst couldn't grow into his frame. Brennan Hawkins just didn't do anything. Austin Weiner, I believe, medically retired. And then Ozzie Hoffler just never grew into his frame. So that's like a pretty good portion of the recruiting class. Quite literally a quarter of the recruiting class there that did nothing for K-State. And one of them I will never disparage, just because medical retirement is always going to be tough. I mean, that said, what are the other ones? Excuse?
I mostly agree with what you said. I mean, Devin Weathers, there's really nothing to say there. He just quit. He just stopped playing football, and that's it. Gavin Hasselhorst, he's someone that actually had really high recruiting grades on 24/7. If you go look at the 24/7 rankings exclusively, Gavin Hasselhorst is the highest rated prospect in this class, and he ended up transferring to Fort Hays State. So a bit of a miseval there, which honestly, not all of that is entirely his fault. I think if he was either whiter and able to put on a lot more weight, or if he was taller and had longer arms, he could have been a Power 5 defensive lineman, because he was still freakishly athletic. But the problem is he had the height of a defensive tackle, but the weight of a defensive end. and so he didn't have the length to play on the end at the college, the Power 5 level, and he certainly didn't have the width to move to the inside at the Power 5 level. And he just wasn't quite fast enough to be a linebacker at this level, but he was really explosive. And I think if he had been like, instead of if he's like 5'11", if he had been like 6'2", like I think he could have had a chance to be like a solid player for K-State. But it just with his size, it just like it
Was
like,
not meant to be.
Yeah. So he didn't play, but he ended up having a really good career at Fort Hays State. He had 11 sacks in his career, 27 and a half tackles for loss, and 107 tackles in 4 years. So he actually put together a really strong career at the Division II level. And that was also his hometown school. And his season in 2024, he was all MIAA third team. And that was as a sophomore. So I think he actually still has a year of eligibility left somehow. Because that 21 season, he would have redshirted here. And then how are they grading this? Like, where did this come from? Okay.
Did we just discover a random school cheating on eligibility?
Yeah, Fort Hays State in 2021, redshirted K-State. 2022, played in 8 games as a redshirt freshman. He got a medical hardship in 2023 as a sophomore. And so they have sophomore, and then they have sophomore 2 in 2024. So he would have been junior this past year. And so he got a do-over on his sophomore year, made the most of it. And so now he's going to be a super duper senior, like 6-year athlete at Fort Hays State. So like, honestly, shout out to Gavin Hasselhorst. Like, this is like the best career I think that we've seen so far. Omar Daniels, I guess, like on a higher level for sure, but like Gavin Hasselhorst actually really has put together a strong college football career. So shout out to him. But let's see who else here. Brennan Hawkins. Yeah, that dude never did anything here, which is too bad. But he ended up in Louisiana Christian, is what I've been able to find. In 2025, he had 11 catches for 125 yards and 1 touchdown, and might have gotten hurt in October, I think. I don't know what level of football this is at, for what it's worth. This might be NAIM. But yeah, he had a fine career or fine season. He's listed as a junior there as well. So like, I don't know where these guys are finding all of these years. Like, if you look at him, he kind of looks like the like IM 12 guy. Like, so like maybe it's not hang it up, man. But I was excited for Hawkins when we got him because he was an actually tall receiver, and I was so tired of Phillip Brooks. And this was in 2021. So little did I know we were about to get 3 full seasons more of Phillip Brooks. So
you were not ready.
Yeah, that was a bit frustrating. But what are you gonna do? But the other guys, Austin Weiner, I think he ended up retiring, and then Ozzie Hoffler, I think he was just a play to get his older brother, honestly, like because Ozzie Hoffler never did anything here. I don't know if he ever even played. And he transferred, and I think he ended up like quitting football after, like, I think he might have played like in a game, maybe at Georgia State. Yeah, he played in a game at Georgia State, and that was it.
Yeah. Ooh.
Sweet, man. But yeah, that is a lineup of mostly unimpressive college athletes, and then one Gavin Hasselhorst.
And now we get into the 3 guys I'm going to have listed. On 3, it's just 2, but the 3 guys that are listed that are the best players in the class and are the lowest rated. The first of which was Des Purnell, who is listed as a very, very low 3-star on 3. And that's because what he ended up becoming was a linebacker. He was listed as an athlete because he was tiny. and he didn't have the range to play safety. So they eventually moved him down to linebacker. This is the good ending for Devontae Pritchard, where they take what the guy can do, they make him a linebacker. Des Purnell is able to put on the weight, ends up becoming a 3-year starter for K-State, has a lot of really good flashy moments. Probably won't be in the league just because he's still shorter than most, but was a really, really good college player. And yeah, that's the story of Des Purnell, and that's an awesome story. And if it weren't for a guy that ended up being an NFL draft pick, spoilers, he's the one that's not listed on 3. He'd probably be the best player in this class.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like Des Purnell, like he was kind of like I vaguely remember his commitment, and it was mostly a like kind of out of nowhere sort of deal. Like he committed, and everyone was like, I don't know what that is. Like, who cares? But he ended up, yeah, of course, having a fantastic K State career. He had 190 total tackles in his time at K State, 23 and a half tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 3 interceptions, including that pick 6 this year, 9 passes defensed, 4 forced fumbles, and 1 scoop and score. That would be in the Baylor game in 2023, which you may also remember as the Cody Stufflebean game because he had 2 sacks. But no, Des Purnell, I mean, this last season was really rough, but he had some stretches of play where he was really doing everything he could to put the team on his back. And I was really pleased with him, and he had a great K-State career.
Another great K-State career is Damian Ilalio, who's now actually on the K-State coaching staff. And he's listed at 6 foot. No. He's probably 5'10", 5'11". He's taller than me, but not by much. His first notable snap was in the Big 12 championship, and then he put together a solid couple of years as the starting nose tackle for K-State. And nose tackles will always be underappreciated, especially I think that Ilalio was put in the unfortunate position of, in sequence, going up against Timmy Horn and Eli Huggins in people's memory. And I think that people, when they look back on it, they might remember Uso Seumalo more just because he had a sort of bigger personality. And he was a bigger dude too. But Ilalio ended up being another really good player for K-State. Probably the 3rd best in this class, and he was the lowest rated guy of the people that were actually rated and made it to campus. But yeah, he's in the unfortunate situation where he was a really good player, but he is wedged in between a guy who is still floating around practice squads in the NFL and Eli Huggins, who was really, really good. I think he was really underrated for his K-State career. He won't get that attention because he's not as assuming as those guys. That doesn't mean he was bad. He wasn't. He was really good.
Yeah, that I like your assessment of Dorian Stevens because he. I'm sorry, I was looking up Dorian Stevens. Damian Ilalio.
Dorian Stevens never made it to campus.
No, we did not. I was trying to preemptively find more information about him, and even his Twitter account got suspended, and that's a rough way to be in. But
that's tough.
Damian Ilalio was the total opposite. He got to campus like he's a Manhattan native, so he was already here. But he like as a player that I always really liked. His first really meaningful snaps in 2022 came like in that Big 12 title game, which I didn't realize this. They actually credit him as playing in 5 games in 2022. So I think I might have been making up that first snap in the Big 12 championship thing. But I think we can still work with it being his first meaningful snaps. Probably, I'm not going to go back and check at this point. But
No, not worth it.
Damien,
Doesn't fit our narrative.
yeah, like a 4 year player, like a 2 year starter, like a really strong interior guy, and yeah, like these types of players are often underappreciated. And yeah, I think you're right. Uso is probably going to be the one that's remembered for longer, at least kind of the more casual sense, because like Uso was like just a lot bigger than Damien, and so like when like Uso made something cool happen, it was like infinitely more interesting because it went from being like very large guy to like freakishly and like humorously large guy doing something like, and that's no fault of Damien because Damien was an excellent football player for K State. And like I think is like kind of like the platonic ideal of like what people think of when they think of K State football. Honestly, he's a guy like Damian Olalio.
Yeah. So that's all the high school guys who made it to campus. Dorian Stevens exists. No one knows what happened to him. The JUCO guys were Kingsley Ugu and Tyrone Howell. Ugu, I remember being very high on, and I famously was very high on Tyrone Howell. Neither of them did anything at K State. Tyrone Howell was okay at ULM. ULM mentioned, but outside of that, I really think that the big notes here come from the transfer portal. But I'll let you talk about the other guys if you so desire as well.
Yeah, Kingsley Ugu and played in 13 games as a senior at Fresno, uh, and apparently was also a member of the field goal unit, which is super interesting. But yeah, he never did anything really at K State. But then yeah, Tyrone Howell, like I kind of agreed with you. He was somebody that I remember I watched his highlights and I thought that could really be someone that like could be great at K State. Fortunately, it was not meant to be, but he did go and ball out in the Sun Belt like so many contested catch receivers love to do, and that is go to the league where the only play in the playbook is throwing this pill. Like Drew Lock would thrive in the Sun Belt, but Tyrone Howell,
Be fair, he also thrived in the SEC, but that was oh Tennessee's head coach Weipel, Josh Weipel.
but yeah, he had 2 great seasons at ULM. Especially that 2022 season, 50 catches, 852 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And followed it up, had 49 catches the following year, but his yardage dropped significantly down to 590. But he did add another touchdown with 7. So he ended up having like a pretty strong collegiate career. I think like that's like he finished with over 1,500 receiving yards at the FBS level, and like that's really impressive to me, regardless of whether he did it at K State or a ULM. So, like I think the vision was there with Tyrone Howell. Uh, I think he just had some bad luck of having his 1 year at K State be Courtney Messingham's last year, and
So
also
tough.
yeah, and that was a year where he really keyed on using a Deuce Vaughn a lot as well. So just not really the year to try and break out as a K State pass catcher, unfortunately.
No. But I think that the real stars of this class, and I'll just read through the transfer portal names and we can talk about them more
Oh,
generally.
you're forgetting one
Oh, that wasn't for the bit. Yeah, the guy that I keep mentioning is not being listed on three. I forgot him. It's DJ Giddens because DJ Giddens just showed up on campus one day and then turned himself into a third round draft pick in the NFL. That will always be the most baffling thing in the world to me because he doesn't show up on just about any of the recruiting sites, spawns via console commands on K State's campus, and becomes a day 2 pick at running back.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a K State story right there. Like at least in the way that like if we ever get on national TV, like that's the way that the commentators that like aren't good at their jobs like to talk about us. But Like, yeah, DJ Giddens was a player where, like, from when he got on campus, like, the ground would like rumble a little, and like whispers would like kind of trickle out about like this Giddens guy might be good if he figures it out. And then he figured it out, and he was, if not for Deuce Vaughn being the immediately preceding running back, I think would be like unanimously seen as one of the best K State running backs ever. Um, but he just had to live in Deuce Vaughn's ghost, especially that 2023 season. But man, DJ was a fantastic running back. Like, to go from Deuce Vaughn directly to DJ Giddens is just a level of spoiled at the running back position that is kind of hard to comprehend, honestly. But man, I what a smooth runner. Like, I sometimes like to go back and watch the 2024 Colorado game highlights just for DJ. And
How he made
that's a game
Shiloh
that,
touch earth.
yeah, and that is a game that ended on like a walk-off passing play. Like, well, it wasn't walk-off, but a go-ahead passing play with like 2 minutes left. Like, but DJ is still definitely the highlight of that game. Like, just some of his runs were incredible. But I do want to like just like briefly mention a few of the walk-ons that are on the roster that don't get mentioned on the recruiting list, just because there actually were a lot of like very notable walk-ons in this class. Hadley Panzer is the first one. He I think was like a 4-year contributor. Like, he did not redshirt, which like for a walk-on is like really impressive. So a huge shout out to Hadley Panzer and the career he had at K-State. Xavier Gordon, I don't think he ended up doing anything in K-State. I think it was Xavier Lloyd that was the receiver,
Yep.
like as a walk-on that like transferred to FCS and was like actually really good.
Yep, that was Xavier Lloyd.
I'm pretty sure he went to Illinois State with Jake Rubley, I think.
Yes, he did.
Okay. So glad we got that figured out. But Trey Krause, he was like a very strong special teams guy for a while, and I think he was a cap casualty last offseason. Like, so I guess he probably could have stuck around, like, if we'd done the grandfather rule, but I think that was all up in the air at the time. Shane Porter, famous head case in FBS football, transferred from here to North Texas, left, said that he was better than the school that he was at, and proceeded to get cut immediately. Then other notable guys, Sam Hecht, draft pick this past year. He was a walk-on in this 2021 class as well. Oh, and then there is Xavier Lloyd. He was also in this class. So we had two walk-on receivers named Xavier in the class of 2021, which is not confusing at all. And they have very similar builds as well. Like, Xavier Gordon's 6'1", 191, and Xavier Lloyd is 6'2", 180. So that was really nice of them. And then Chris Tennant, he was a walk-on this year as well. And he ended up having a controversial, but honestly, in hindsight, pretty good K-State career.
It ended very well, but people wanted Tennant dead for those first few years.
Yeah, and I get it, because, that was one thing that K-State always had with Bill Snyder, at least I felt like in my lifetime, was a good kicker. Like, I never really saw the field goal unit go out, and at no point in the Bill Snyder era did I ever like think there was a chance the field goal was not going to like be converted, especially when we had Matthew McCrane. But like Sands, Jack Antelli in 2014, like really good field goal kickers. But yeah, Chris Tennant was just not steady early in his career. That was patched by Ty Zentner in the championship season, but Tennant ultimately figured it out. He ended up having like a solid finish to his career. He had a go-ahead game winner in the Sunflower Showdown, like from distance as well. Like, I think that's a really strong way to end your career at K-State.
Yep. Now I think we can talk about the transfers, because this is quite the transfer class, because this was the Russ Yeast, Timmy Horn, we're going to skip over a name there, Julius Prince, Daniel Maturbebe class, as well as Cade Warner. So a lot of really good contributors that came here, and of course, the name that everyone's going to remember is going down in K State folklore. This was the Reggie Stubblefield class, who became one of the biggest EMAW favorites by being super EMAW. Like he might be one of the most EMAW players that's ever existed, and he was here for like, wasn't he a 1 year guy?
Yeah, he was. That was his only season. Like I remember, like that 2022 season, really wishing that he like had another year. Like if for like I would have been fine if they like let him be on the roster, but he wasn't allowed to play. But I was like, I feel like Reggie Stubblefield like deserves like to be on this championship team, like because like there were like in 2021 there were some tough times like with that roster, but Reggie Stubblefield was never a problem. Like every game, like I came into the stadium knowing if nobody got me, I know Reggie Stubblefield got me, and he did.
And I can't name man. Reggie Stubblefield's a fascinating story because he ended up as a math teacher in Texas and is now in like the Canadian Football League. So fascinating career trajectory for him.
Yeah, and I mean, would we expect anything less? Because I mean, I remember when his commitment was going down, like the scuttlebutt on the message boards was that he was like tricking the staff into adding him. And like I remember, this was one of the first things that happened in the history of our show.
Yep.
Like was us talking about Stubblefield over multiple episodes and how like the rumors that he was like inflating his stats and lying to get on the roster.
And then he called us on it a year and a half later.
Yeah, we tried to get him on the show and he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it, but weren't you guys talking smack about me?" And I was like, "No, not really actually. That's not what happened at all. Like we were just reporting the news, man." But
and for the record, we didn't get him on the show because we in the time that we would have gotten him on the show, I was traveling, and I don't know what. I think we both were actually traveling, but we were both busy and neither could find time to actually sit down and do the episode. And I think he ended up taking this is a cut. Settling the score with Colin Settle. I think that's the one that he ended up doing in originally the time slot we were going to do. Going to have him on the show. That's just lore. I mean,
yeah, that would have been, I think, like around a year into us doing the show is when like we were looking at getting like Reggie on the show. Like, and we don't do a lot of guests. Like, I like having guests on, like, but I don't like coordinating having guests on. I'd really like it if everybody would just do things how we say exactly when we want them to. Then we could have so many guests on all the time. Like,
it'd be perfect. My pie in the sky dream that okay, I shouldn't say pie in the sky. I've had a dream of like getting Tyson on the show because he seems like someone that would probably do it. At one point, I was like, "Oh, maybe we get KC on the show." No, that's not happening. Maybe Tyson.
neighbors, you mean?
Yeah, Tyson Neighbors. I should clarify.
Yeah, no, I think that would be pretty cool. I think we should like I think it's worth looking into. Yeah, but yeah, Reggie was a near miss, unfortunately. But gosh, for the level of like esteem he holds in like the Hall of K-State Coal Heroes, uh, if you only looked at the stat line, you like wouldn't really think that much.
You wouldn't know that.
He had in his 1 year at K-State 34 tackles, 2 passes defended, 1 sack, and get this, 0 interceptions and 0 forced fumbles. Like, which it's crazy to think about because he was such a disruptive player on the field, but he didn't really pile up those like counting stats like that. But regardless, I mean, he still put together like one of the more entertaining single K-State seasons ever. Like, I mean, he added 7 TFLs. I, though, for one, I'm really surprised by there only being 2 passes defended there because I just seem to remember him having several of like those like diving pass breakups on like a ball up the seam, like on like a quick play action to the tight end, like right over the middle. Like I think he had one for sure in the Stanford game. But gosh, he's just the type of guy. Like if I could print Reggie Stubblefields, like I'd put one on the team.
Absolutely. I mean, we kind of had one in like a different build with Justice James because yes, Justice James because Justice James was also super emo. He just wasn't vocal about it.
Yeah. But did he finish his career as James, or did he go back to Clemens?
I think it went James Clemens James.
I
It's
thought it
either
was
that or it went
James
Clemens
Clemens.
James Clemens. I don't remember which is which.
Justice was like a similar attitude player, but yeah, Quay Moss I think kind of tried to fill that void. I think if it had been a better team, I think he might have, but they had to hit a certain like minimum threshold at the very least, and like the 2021 team did enough, I think, to meet that mark. But yeah, this year's team just didn't quite get there. But Quay was trying.
Yeah, Quay was trying. We haven't even talked about. We briefly mentioned there were two NFL draft picks that I named, three NFL body guys. Timmy Horn was the NFL body, probably one of the most underrated players of the Kleiman era. Julius Brents was a second round draft pick who unfortunately just cannot stay healthy in the NFL. And Russ Yeast has stuck around the NFL as a seventh round pick. So that's a really good transfer haul at the very beginning of the transfer portal era, and that's not even mentioning Cade Warner and how important he was to the Big 12 championship team.
Yeah, all great calls. I mean, obviously Julius Brents like is kind of the highlight player there. And I remember as a portal pickup, that was the same deal because he like was someone that was kind of seen as a guy that Iowa really wanted to keep, and he just didn't quite hit his potential there. But he ended up being a fantastic player, really projectable player at K State. Like had 5 picks in his career, 6 passes defended. He had a forced fumble. And that senior year, he got really a lot better in run defense as well. He laid some really big hits that season. Then yeah, pro football, it's just been tough for him to just stay healthy. He had a pick as a rookie and 31 tackles, and then yeah, hardly played in 24. And then last year he got traded to the Dolphins and he had 11 tackles. So hopefully he'll have a bit of a comeback. But yeah, Russ Yeast, one of the very early favorites of the show, I think you could say. But he started at Louisville. He actually was a corner his first 2 years, which I did not know until like literally just now that he started his career as a corner. But he was a pretty highly regarded prospect in the portal. And he honestly, like at times, was like a like season saving type of guy on the back end. Like he had 4 interceptions and 10 passes defended as a senior at K State, which like is so good. And like he forced a fumble as well. He had 1.5 tackles for loss. He was a really, really good safety for K State, and I think wildly underrated, honestly. Like Raggy, Louisville, Kentucky, one of my favorites, honestly. One of the unsung heroes, I think. Gosh, if that's a guy that we could have gotten one more year out of by just like, I don't know, like lying or something to the NCAA, but that would have been awesome. But and yeah, he's now been in the NFL for uh, 5 years, 4 years. Yeah, he didn't record any stats last year, but like honestly, like he was a like a really strong defender. No, he did. He played one game last year and had a tackle for Houston. But early in his career for LA, like in 2023, like he was like a like here and there starter. He had 61 tackles and 5 pass breakups that year. So there's maybe still a spot for Russ in the NFL. And then Timmy Horn, another unsung hero for K-State. He was awesome in his 1 year with K-State, coming here from Charlotte. He had a great sack celebration as well. Finished the year with 2 sacks, had 18 tackles. And then, yeah, actually kind of hung around the NFL a little longer than I thought he would. He played in his rookie season, he played in 17 games and he had 27 tackles. And then 2023, he only played in 3 games, only had 4 tackles, and hasn't played since. So I think he's been like a practice squad guy since then.
Yeah, mostly. He's mostly been on practice squads.
But I don't know. 3 guys right there who I really like.
But, I mean, really the saving grace of this class is the transfer portal, because the high school class produced 3 really good players, 1 contributor, and then nothing else.
Yeah, this was not a good high school class. In hindsight, there were, I think, a few guys that if they like stuck it out, I think we would have remembered them pretty well. Like I think about a guy like Crew Jackson. Like if he had never become like a starter at K-State, but like had about the same level career he did between here and Arizona State, like I think we probably would have like had a soft spot for him. Like for just having like a solid role player type of career. And I think the same thing could probably be said for like a few other guys in this class, like Marvin Martin. But still, like we got DJ Giddens out of this class. We got a year of Russ Yeast. We got 2 years of Julius Brents. Like, got to be pretty happy with some of those returns. But then, yeah, you mentioned Daniel Bebe. Like he had like one of the more like statistically unique seasons in K-State history, and where he had only 12 catches on the season, and I don't even think he played in every game because of injuries. But he still had 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 26.2 yards per catch, which is just absurd. Like
I remember one was the check at the line with Will against Nevada.
Yeah, it was like that was like a big play. I think one of the other ones might have been TCU. Maybe I think he had a long catch in that game. I can't remember exactly, but I mean he was 4th on the team in receptions, but he was first in average per catch by a lot. So huge shout out to Daniel Bebe in his really fun K-State career. Honestly, like mostly chunk catches. And yeah, that other long play was TCU. That was his longest of the year. It was a 73-yard touchdown against TCU. And then he had a 68-yard touchdown against Nevada. And he had other catches, 32 yards against Texas Tech, 26 in the bowl game, 22 against Stanford, 20 the loss to Iowa State. Yeah, it was mostly like chunk plays for him.
Yeah. But all in all, this was the COVID eval class. So portal additions, good. High school class, not good outside of like 4 players. But unless you have anything else to add, I'm done.
Shout out Cade Warner. Had a great senior year, 456 yards and 5 touchdowns. And I don't know, is there anybody else that we haven't mentioned? I guess Eric Munoz was offsides on that kick one time.
Culture transfer Eric Munoz. But thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggieVilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on more personal, though, I am at ACEdward00.
I'm at Connor Baltzor, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, link found in our podcast and Twitter bio. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. For come rain, shine, or anything between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.